Hello everyone, welcome back to Optimize FPL. We're going to be taking a look at last week and looking at my team selection for Game Week 2. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Game Week 1 results. We're going to go through the team really quick, just because we've already gone through it a little bit before, and because it's not that exciting, to be honest. Ward, 1 point, pretty disappointing for him to concede 2 goals against Brentford. Trent Alexander-Arnold, also the same thing, losing a point to Fulham, and conceding twice is ridiculous. I'm really surprised by that. So the Liverpool defense need to sort themselves out because I've got 2 of them now. We'll get to Robertson in a second. Up next, Cancelo, doing very decent in their game against West Ham. I thought that him and Walker were very far advanced. They were like almost playing in the midfield, which was really surprising. So him and Walker are 2 people to definitely keep an eye out for. Walker in particular because he's so much cheaper. James up next. Chelsea just like that 1-0 win against Everton. Nothing too exciting, to be honest. He got 2 bonus points because nobody else really did anything. So I'm pretty happy with what James was able to do there. Like we talked about, Robertson, only 1 point. Very, very disappointed in him. Like, I really thought that Liverpool could do much better in their opening game against Fulham. So hopefully they can turn it around against their next opponent, Crystal Palace. Moving on, we got Petroneto, 2 points. Apparently he was decent against Leeds. Like, he created some chances and was able to do a couple of tricky skills, but it sounds like he wasn't too potent in his attacking prowess. So hopefully he can change that up and get some more points next week against hopefully an easier opposition. Here's the big one though: Salah, 24 points, getting a goal and an assist in the Fulham game, keeping his team in the game. To be honest, he looked absolutely fantastic. I'm hoping that he can keep doing this. Like the first half, he wasn't great. I can't lie. But the second half, he really turned it on. It was a much better asset. So, Salah, he's the king. He's the king of FPL. I can't believe people don't have him in their teams. I think he's only like 60% owned or 50% owned. It's absolutely insanity. He is like should be 100% owned. He is the best player in the game. Up next, Saka, 6 points, not too bad. Getting a goal or getting a clean sheet and an assist off of the Gehi own goal. It would have been nicer if Saka obviously just scored the chance without having to go in off of another player, but it is what it is. At least we get the points for it. Hopefully Saka can do something a little bit more exciting next game. He wasn't too involved in the play last game. It was mostly like Gabriel Jesus and Martinelli, and so I'm hoping that Saka can get more into the game and do a lot more. Up next is definitely the roughest one out of all of them. Well, maybe not the roughest one out of all of them, but pretty close. Bailey at 2 points, ridiculous. That like Aston Villa looked absolutely terrible. I'm really worried about him. Hopefully, he can keep his place in the next game because they were just terrible. Losing to Bournemouth 2-0 after they talked about how they have no defensive assets. Like Scott Parker was talking about how their defensive players are not up to scratch for the Premier League, and they come up against Aston Villa, a team that many people have predicted in the top 10 this year, and they don't score a single goal. Like, what's going on? What happened to their attack? Surprised they benched Ollie Watkins. That was really surprising to me. I'm not sure exactly why that happened. I'm hoping that he doesn't take Bailey's place on the left wing, but that's definitely a possibility. So definitely want to keep your eye out for. Harry Kane up next. This one is the one that was probably the worst out of them all. Only 2 points. Our game week 1 punt did not play out, but it is what it is. It could on another day he could have got more points, but he really wasn't playing that far advanced. He was playing more in like the 8 role, the 10 role, something that we see a lot from Kane, but it's something that we don't really want as FPL owners. We don't want him to be playing that deep. We want him to be more in the box, controlling the game more as the main striker, not as the playmaker. So definitely something that's concerning. Like Son and Kulusevski were much better attacking assets compared to Kane that last game. Even the wingbacks were so involved and so in the box that I really worry about Kane and his output in FPL this season. And up next, the most owned player in FPL history, Gabriel Jesus, also blanked. Don't get me wrong, he looked absolutely fantastic in the first 45 minutes against Crystal Palace, but he just didn't do enough to get a goal. So I'm hoping next game he can do well. A lot of people seem to be knee jerking him out. I don't think I would recommend doing that. He's got great games for the next 5 to 6, so I really would recommend keeping him in your teams. But that's everyone's own prerogative. They do what they want with their own teams. On the bench, Sanchez getting 4 points. Would have been nice to have him on the field, but everybody else really nothing too much to complain about. Our expected points for this week was 58, which is not too bad. We got 55, so it was pretty close. We were only about 8 points or 3 points off. Sorry, so could have been a lot worse, but could have been a lot better. Let's move on to my team selection now. Okay, so starting off, we've got Sanchez in net against Newcastle. It's not a great fixture, don't get me wrong, but it's at home. So I think that he'll probably do well. Expected points 4. If he can repeat what he did last week against Manchester United, get a couple saves, get a couple of bonus points, we're going to be looking pretty good here. So that's probably what I'm looking for from him. Let's move on to our defense. So here's our defense, same as last week. Nothing really changes here. Cancelo looking absolutely fantastic against Bournemouth at home. I'm really looking forward to that fixture. I'm thinking it's going to be a great one for Man City. James against Tottenham. I mean, you think I thought about benching him potentially for someone like Andres, but like he's such a better asset even against Tottenham. I think that he has a better chance of returning than any of my bench players. So I'm definitely keeping him on the field. Um, yeah, Robertson and Trent, obviously, we're keeping them on. Like, they had a bad fixture against Fulham, don't get me wrong. Like, they had, a bad game, not a bad fixture. But they had a bad game against Fulham, and I think that they could definitely improve on that next week against Crystal Palace. Expected to get about, like, 11 points between the two of them, or actually almost 12. So I'm really hoping that they can pull it together and get some points. Not only necessarily clean sheet points, but also some attacking returns. That'd be very nice. That's kind of one of the reasons we have them in our teams. Let's move on to our midfield. So again, nothing to write home about here. Same team: Neto, Salah, Saka, Bailey. Nothing really changes. Bailey, I'm a little bit worried about because he could lose his spot to Watkins, but it's Everton at home. He's got expected points of 3. You probably just keep him in the team and hope that he can play and get some points. Saka against Leicester is also a difficult fixture. Don't get me wrong, but I think Leicester at home is something that you probably don't necessarily want to target, but not when you're going to bench players for because their defense has been pretty woeful and Arsenal's attack looks really, really good. Like I talked about before, Liverpool against Crystal Palace, I think they're probably going to win this game. Salah looked really good. I hope they can get some more returns against Crystal Palace. And last but definitely not least is Neto. He's got a decent game against Fulham. I mean, they played pretty well against Liverpool, so that does kind of concern me. But I'm hoping that Wolves can play better this game than they did against Leeds. But I don't know. I am a little bit worried about it. I don't know what to really expect from Neto anymore. He might be a player that needs to go relatively soon. And moving to our forward line. And here's our forward line. The one transfer I made, I absolutely knee-jerked and brought in Haaland. The second he scored his second goal. That's not actually true. I waited till the game was at least over, but I had no money in the bank. I wanted to get Haaland in after game week 1. I thought that Kane was going to do a lot better against Southampton. I thought Haaland was potentially going to blank against West Ham because West Ham is in theory supposed to be a much harder fixture than Southampton. And instead, Haaland went off and scored a brace, and Kane did absolutely nothing. So this week he's got a projected points of like 7, so I'm hoping that he can get at least a goal. I'm gonna be captaining him most likely. I'm not 100% sure yet. I still could turn back to Salah, but I think if I'm gonna I already spent the transfer, so like I can't go back now. But if I'm going to in my mind, if I spent the transfer to bring him in, I should captain him. So I'm thinking I'm gonna captain Haaland. Just keep it the way it is. Keep it simple. Gabriel Jesus, again, just like Salah against Leicester at home, hoping that he can do a little bit better than the first game, but honestly, I'm not too worried about it. They got great fixtures, so he'll return eventually, so I'm not too worried about Jesus in this team. Looking at our bench, same as last time: Ward, Andres, Nico Williams, Archer, nothing too exciting. Our projected score for this week is 63.34, so I'm hoping that we can do a little bit better than last week. Hopefully get into somewhere in like the 60, 70 range. That'd be really, really exciting. And I think that this team can do it because it's got a lot of really good fixtures in it. Last but not least, we got the vice captain and captaincy on. Like I said, Salah and Haaland are going to be fighting for that captaincy band all week. I think right now I'm keeping it on Haaland. I think that's going to be probably the last place I leave it, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. Thanks everyone so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please feel free to leave any comments about your team. Let me know if you guys ended up knee-jerking Haaland in if you owned Kane, or you can rub it in my face that I didn't have Haaland in the team if you had him in your team, because it was pretty silly of me not to have him, let's be honest. Thanks so much, everybody. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and cheers.